What up, Screen Fiends? I'm GB, and you're tuned in to Headz TV, where we like to discuss all the wonderful things appearing on your movie and your TV screens. In this episode, I'm going to give my first impression review. I've only seen the movie once, and I just saw it, for Spider-Man Homecoming. Alright, so as I said, this is just a first impression review. I've only seen the movie once. I haven't had tons of time to think about it. And I am going to go see it again in a few days with my son, who really wants to see it really bad. Also, I just wasn't able to take him with me the time I was going for the premiere. So, I'm not going to get into spoilers too heavy in this, but there might be one or two, but only minor ones. So if you want to know absolutely nothing, but come on, by now I'm sure you know most, if not seen the whole thing. But if you want to know absolutely nothing, don't want to be spoiled at all, even about minor to little things, definitely come back to this video after you've seen Homecoming. With that being said, let's get into it. Okay, I really enjoyed this movie, though it's not perfect and it still has flaws, but very, very few films would I deem perfect or near perfect. But I will say this is the best iteration of Spider-Man yet. Now, does that mean it's the best overall movie? I don't know. Spider-Man 2 is pretty hard to beat, but it's right up there with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. What I want to do is after I watch it again, or maybe even before I watch it the second time, I'm going to watch the Spider-Man 2, the Raimi one. And then I'll be able to make a decision by the next video on which one I really thought was a better overall film. But one thing that they definitely do better in Homecoming, as opposed to all other iterations of Spider-Man, is they nailed Peter Parker and Spider-Man. See, I may do a video about this. I'm not sure. I got a lot of thoughts about this one topic, but I'll try to wrap it up quickly right here. I feel like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man got Peter Parker perfect, but didn't really nail Spider-Man. Maybe not Peter Parker perfect, but got him really, really well. They really did a good job with Parker in Raimi's Spider-Man series. You know, there was the lack of the scientist in him and all that, but for the most part, they got Parker right. But I feel like they didn't get Spider-Man all that right in the fact that he wasn't particularly quippy. And he wasn't as social or friendly or funny or any of that stuff as Spider-Man as he should have been. But I love those movies. And anyway, even I have a certain tiny little special place in my heart for Spider-Man 3, even though there's tons of problems with that one. So, and then I feel Amazing Spider-Man, Mark Webb's version, they did a terrible job on Peter. It was not Peter Parker in that movie whatsoever, in my opinion. Not even Ultimate Peter, even though there were shades of Ultimate Peter in there. I really, really, really disliked their version of Peter Parker. Except for his relationship with Gwen, which I thought they did pretty well. But their Spider-Man was better than Raimi's Spider-Man in respects that I feel like he moved more like Spider-Man, and he was a little more quippy. And I just felt like he was more of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man as opposed to Tobey Maguire's version. So I like Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker better, but I like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man better, as funny as that sounds. But now Tom Holland has nailed Peter Parker. If you grew up in the 90s, and you forget about the comics for a minute, even though that's of course the most important thing. But if you go back to the 90s, or you grew up in the 90s, and you watched the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon that came on Fox, along with the X-Men, that was Spider-Man. That was Peter Parker. That was Spider-Man. The perfect match of both. And this Tom Holland is almost, and Spider-Man is almost, Tom Holland's Peter and Spider-Man are almost directly pulled from that cartoon, a la the comics, because the cartoon pretty much followed the comics well. So they did an amazing job of that, and by far one of my favorite parts of the film was Spider-Man. And there's very few missteps they made with the character, but there are a few. Let me just talk about that right now. First off, I don't like Spider-Man having an Iron Man suit. I get that in the comic he gets the Iron Spider. He doesn't wear it all that long though, and yeah, I get it. And I get it for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this new tech, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like, and maybe this will change, Spider-Man's ultimate feeling should be is, I don't need your tech. Your tech is a hindrance to me. I have all the instincts and Spidey sense I need to just have, a nice suit with some of the specs you got, like the heating, And he definitely shouldn't have an AI. I was all against that, even though it worked in the film and it led to some really, really good moments in the film and it ties into the MCU really, really well. I feel like it takes away from the character of Spider-Man a bit in that we don't really see him use the spider sense. It's the AI that helps him. It doesn't really seem for him to have his own aim and accuracy and know where to put the webs, which was always a fun thing to me for Spider-Man. The one good thing that comes out of this suit is a lot of the other stuff you see in the comics that Spidey does with webs, like grenades and electronic web and all that, I think works better in the context of the suit. So I don't think this should be his suit going forward in every movie. I think he should find either in Infinity War, or maybe they'll wait one more until part 2 of Spider-Man to make him say, you know what, the AI and all of the technology in this suit works for you, Tony, but I'm gonna make some tweaks. And then he makes some tweaks because he is a scientist and makes the suit more like the traditional suit, where it provides maybe some protection, of course some cover, and like I said, has a few of those little bells and whistles, like the drone. That was cool to me. The parachute was cool to me, a little Batman utility belt-ish, but there was a point in the comics where Spider-Man actually, I believe, had a utility belt. And Spider-Man technically is the Batman of the Marvel Universe, even though some will argue and say that Moon Knight is. Moon Knight is on the darker sense, but as far as Rogues Gallery and the way the superhero goes about solving crimes and doing this thing is more akin Spider-Man and Batman than Moon Knight and Batman. Alright, anyway. So that was all good. I love the way they tied it into previous Marvel films. I won't say which ones, even though you all probably know by now. But it's a huge tie-in to previous Marvel films. And I'm going to do a separate video, probably next, about the whole big nonsense I'm seeing everywhere about the timing of it doesn't work. The timeline's off now. They messed up the timeline. No, they didn't, people. Pay attention to Kevin Feige and the way he talks and operates in the past as well as in the present, and you will find out that the timeline is not messed up whatsoever. But I'm not going to talk about that much here. Marissa Tomei was different as Aunt May, but fantastic as Aunt May. Though I did miss the older Aunt May we're all accustomed to. She adds, because she's closer in age to Spider-Man, she not only adds a motherly figure, but she's also like a big sister or a friend. They have a friendly relationship that I have with some of my aunts and uncles, So I really like that dynamic and the choice they went. And I love Miss Marissa Tomei, her acting chops, her looks, everything about her. Love Marissa Tomei. And anytime I've seen her do interviews, she seems like a really pleasant person. Okay, and I'm a huge fan of Seinfeld, and we all know the impact she made on that show in a couple episodes, right? All right, so Ned Leeds got on my nerves a little bit. That's Spider-Man's best friend. But it worked. He made me laugh a few times. He felt like a real kid. That's something else I want to talk about. All of the child actors in here, I can't call them, the teen actors in here, all feel like real teenagers in today's world. They all feel like millennial teens. They remind me of so many of my cousins, co-workers, friends, people I met in my life that are younger than me. Very, very much so. And I think that out of most movies that do high school and things like that, they did it better than most. Just like John Hughes used to do it better than most. And I see now why they were comparing this to a John Hughes film. Not just because of the Ferris Bueller or the high school aspect or that Pete's a teen. But if you look at the structure of the film, and if you look at the non-superhero stuff, and if you look at just the way the kids act and behave and the way high school is portrayed, on point. John Hughes, reality, loved it. Yeah. Oh, and Michael Keaton, fantastic as the Vulture. I really wish we got some more from him. I would have liked to see a little bit more of his character develop, because we pick up with him at one point where he's like an everyday Joe, and then we get a time skip. And then you have Michael Keaton, like full-on kind of villain, but not full-on villain. He's not really trying to destroy the world or take over. He's really just an arms dealer, and he's trying to make money. You know, I think his intention is to make back all the money that he lost to Stark in the whole deal that went on with Damage Control, that's Stark's company, and Toombs, Michael Keaton's company. And I'll talk about more of that in the spoiler review. All right, that's it for this one. I liked the movie. I really, really did. I'm not going to give it a grade or anything yet. I'm going to wait till I watch it again to give it a grade. But it was not my favorite Marvel film. It was one of my favorite Spider-Man films. Maybe my favorite. Definitely my favorite iteration of Spider-Man. Good storytelling, good action. The CGI was a little wonky. And the 3D was awesome. I saw some people on here say they didn't need to do it in 3D. It's one of those movies that didn't need the 3D. When you have those aspects of height with Spider-Man, and especially in this movie because he's a little afraid of heights at first, it works so good. It gave me anxiety about the heights, and I'm not even like a height phobia guy. So, yeah. So sound off down below. Let me know what you thought. Look out for the more in-depth review where I'll go into things a little bit better. It'll probably be long, though. It'll probably be like 15, 20 minutes. I got a lot to say about the movie, but I just wanted to try and get this one out there in, under 15 minutes. So, yep, that's it for this one. I mean it this time. Sound off down below. Let me know what you thought about Spider-Man Homecoming or anything involving that film or even the MCU in general or past Spider-Man films. Love to talk about this stuff. Can't do that if you guys don't comment down below. And don't forget, please, to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps out the channel as well as my self-esteem. Lets me know that you guys are actually appreciating the content after you viewed it. Thank you for the views. But I'd like to know how you feel about the video after the view. So, yep, that's it. You guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.